Welcome in. It's the matchup you've all been waiting for. Thursday night Smite. We're here. We're ready to go. I'm aggro. They let you back on the desk?
I just don't let anybody know, please.
All right, we're going to get into this
Give
Thursday
one
night
time.
Smite matchup. Dignitas versus NRG. It's going to be a lot of fun here. I mean, Dignitas, they've spent the majority of the season, everyone's saying this is the new EU powerhouse team. This is their chance to prove themselves, Taco, up against the defending world champs.
I mean, you've got one powerhouse team facing off another potential, and that's always bound to be an incredibly exciting matchup. And I am more than prepared to really just see how it's going to face off as far as these core comps are concerned. We've seen it already earlier today when we saw Valence versus Obey with Lobster and Funballer Azalea against Ataraxia, Prime and the guys. But now we get to see how Dignitas are going to face off with NRG and just adapting in Yammyn versus Qvo and Trix. And it's just, I am really excited to see how these guys face off.
I mean, Variety leaves Obey thinking that that team can't overcome NRG and the world champions. This is his chance to show that his new team can do just that out of the solo lane. Really excited. Zyrhoes as well up against his former coaches, basically. Zyrhoes the coach for NRG at last year's world championship. Take a look at the standing and see exactly where Dignitas and NRG both rank as far as the North or European teams go so far here in the spring split. Dignitas, they're in that three-way tie at the top. NRG right underneath that three-way tie, but still a pretty surprising margin between those three teams in NRG and Lion Guard.
NRG had a bit of a slower start to the split than what they probably would have preferred, considering they did fall early on to Obey, and now it's actually Variety's turn to show that he can keep up just as much as his old team was able to, and so you know he's hungry for this 2-0.
Absolutely.
He wants it probably more than like anybody else on that team right now, especially considering he has to show off to Obey, I made the right decision.
I mean, Variety certainly handled Dimi pretty well at Worlds. Obviously, we all remember the incredible performance that the solo laner had on the then Obey squad, so let's see if he can do it again for Dignitas this time around out of the solo lane. Let's get right into the picks and bans. Here we go, game one, Dignitas versus NRG. The Thursday night Smite matchup we've all been waiting for, Taco.
And immediately Khepri taken right off the board on the side of Team Dignitas, not allowing to have iRaffer have any sort of fun this time around with the bug.
I mean, he loves to play that pick, and we've seen so much success for NRG. They're really the only team that's running Khepri and then Wrath, the Hand of the Gods there with the Relic to make sure that they can secure their own buff. So you know NRG's going to have some sort of strategy up their sleeves. They always seem to. On her, the other ban here for Team Dignitas, focusing out emilitoo, and then Thoth and Hunbats for NRG. That leaves open Sylvanus for Trixtank.
I actually really like the Sylvanus pick on the side of Dignitas here for Trix. He still has a very strong laning phase with his AoE auto attacks, which really help to clear out those archers. So if the bots is being eliminated from the side of NRG, and the Susano, this is a pick that adapting has definitely been favoring a little bit more than usual recently, especially because of how much control it can provide for his team in maneuverability, as well as just lock-in potential with the fact that he has the pull in, and it's so much setup on the side of NRG already just from one pick alone.
And the Skadi as well. ML, the initial Skadi player in the SPL. Funball's picked it up, some other players as well, but you know emilitoo's going to be comfortable on the Norris Hunter. Cabrakan and Neith locked in here for Team Dignitas. Love this Neith selection. Almost certainly for Lobster in the mid lane. I was going to say a flex pick, but Funball's not going to play the Neith. Let's be real here.
You never really know what to expect from Team Dignitas. I wouldn't be surprised to see Arkkyl trying to make something happen with the Neith, just because if it is a Skadi in that duo lane, Neith has a little bit more flexibility facing off against a Skadi, because Skadi, unlike other hunters, doesn't have the same chase down potential. But you can most likely anticipate it going into the mid lane, just because, I mean, if you give such a strong setup factor for Zyrhoes on that Neith in the mid lane, he just has so much that he can do with it.
I was still on the Valence Obey matchup there, but it's Zyrhoes and Arkkyl, of course, the two players for Dignitas. A couple Guardians banned away by Dig, Terra and Fafnir, a couple Warriors by NRG, Tyr and Hercules. It's going to round out the selection here for Team Dignitas, taking a page out of Valence Squadron's book. That's why my brain was on it. The triple Guardian, double Hunter, Ymir and Ram going to be the last two selections here for Team Dignitas. NRG going to lock in the Cupid, so it's going to be a Hunter for Yammyn in the mid lane, but it's a matter of which one.
I would probably expect to see the Cupid in the mid lane.
Have to wait and see.
But you never really know with Emil and Yammyn.
They're going to play something weird, but they're probably going to play it pretty well. They've got their matchup up against Team Dignitas. Can NRG continue to prove that they are at the top of Europe, even without being there in the standings? Tom and Tolly, take it away.
Well, the defending world champs certainly have an uphill battle to go ahead as they take on Team Dignitas. Team Dignitas, the newly formed squad, Variety's new team, has looked absolutely dominant. Has looked like absolute domination throughout the entirety of our first split.
And unfortunately for NRG, they have been looking the complete opposite at the beginning of this split. Couldn't really make the adaptations for Season 4. They've been struggling a little bit with 5 points, whereas Team Dignitas sitting with a 3-way tie at 10 points. Very important set for both of these two teams.
If NRG wind up taking the win, don't forget, they get 3 points, and that puts them just 2 points shy of the 10 of place number 1. Without further ado, it's Thursday Night Smite, Team Dignitas versus NRG. Let's get to it.
Still, with this double Hunter, triple Guardian composition from Team Dignitas. I really like this style because it's really powerful in the mid game, and it really works well with teams that can synergize very well together, playing off of one another. You kite forward, you have one tank go in, take a bunch of damage, second tank goes in, takes a bunch of damage as well. So as long as you cycle those in and out of action, especially with Trixtank healing with the wisps from his Sylvanus play, that's going to be the impact in Team Dignitas controlling team fights in the mid game.
That mid game is going to be all up to adapting here on the side of NRG to really keep NRG afloat. Like you said, Team Dignitas' structure here. Variety, although he's relegated over to the solo lane, should be very powerful early on. So because he's in the solo lane, you're not going to see those hot early game Ymir ganks that come from the big base damage out of the ice carpet and the freeze. Instead, you're going to see QvoFred making these rotations on the Cabrakan and really look to lock players down for some of the sustained damage out of Zyrhoes. But like you said, Totally, once they really hit that mid game, on the other side for NRG, it's really all about adapting, trying to keep the team afloat.
Yeah, adapting, playing the Susano, something that he hasn't really been opting for quite recently. He's going to have a lot of mobility throughout the map already, trying to play very aggressive inside the jungle of Team Dignitas. In the duel lane, though, Trixtank, he's taking a lot of damage from that ice ring.
Yeah, and that's a ton of poke that NRG have already put onto Team Dignitas' duo lane. Trixtank is able to go ahead and heal it up thanks to the pick of Sylvanus, so there is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but either way, NRG certainly have the pressure in this duo lane. Where will they exert it, though? Because it's not all out. I don't know where they're going to head.
iRaffer was able to get his own purple buff, so it makes them have the advantage slightly. As long as that iRaffer is within distance of Trixtank and Arkkyl, they're going to reduce the protections of both physical and magical by 10, which could give them the slight edge in terms of the trading, especially with iRaffer hitting level 3.
Nice little pluck to put iRaffer way out of position. Rather, Trixtank, iRaffer's right in position to do the good deals, but not going to find it just yet. Meditation chased out, however, so the next time we see that play, that's going to be toast for Trixtank. Big play chasing that meditation out this early on.
Absolutely. Not even 2 minutes into the game, you're forcing your support to use his relic right off the bat, giving you complete control, and that's something that's very rare against a Sylvanus in the dueling who has those AoE in hand. So it just goes to show that NRG is not afraid of that necessarily. They gave up the lane pressure at first to secure their own purple, conceded a little bit of gold under tower, and then came right back into it with the experience lead off of the purple buff.
Yeah, the Skadi just has so much power when it comes to not only push, cute little play there, but also just the threat, right? The threat that they offer against the enemy. If you walk out of position, you're just going to get eaten by the dog.
And this is why we see the purple buff being invaded this time from NRG. We actually didn't speak about this, but the Hand of the God start. Ooh, Variety, though, getting pulled out of tower. This is something you definitely want to do as a Susano against any Guardian that doesn't have a natural escape.
Yeah, very, very strange pathing there by adapting, however, to just walk right into the freeze. Point I want to make before it gets too late, that purple buff, the little minion was left standing, and I don't think Team Dignitas know that, Totally. So by leaving that by leaving the little minion there instead of clearing the entire camp, you can see, thanks cameraman, you can actually see the fact that Team Dig have to kill this little minion before the timer restarts. So right now, it's just wasted time here. This minion, when it dies, that's when we see the timer count towards the next spawn. So Dignitas just realizing that now is kind of troublesome.
And that's a 3-minute difference. So that goes down to 3:19, which means it'll respawn around 6:19. The purple buff of energy is about to respawn in about 30 seconds or so. And by the time that comes up, we'll see iRaffer pick that up. He'll have it in action and ready in preparation for the next respawn of the purple buff from Team Dignitas.
And it seems like we're splitting hairs here, folks. Because we are. It's a very small, minute difference, but when you're up against this type of competition, these are the two of the arguable best teams on the entire planet when it comes to playing Smite. You're not going to be able to identify the things that separate these teams by a large, glaring, well, 5 players died. It's going to be things like this. Small optimization in the jungle, making sure that emilitoo waits to iRaffer before hitting that last hit so that iRaffer can get farm on that purple buff as well. These minute things are what made NRG not only world champions once, but twice, and what could bring them up to the same level for a 3rd time if they get things going.
Adapting, taking a lot of poke. They're great root from Zyrhoes, like you mentioned before, playing off of one another in the dual lane, but Adapting does like to go aggressive every now and then by his lonesome, seeing if he can catch anybody out of position, especially a very low health Neith in the mid lane. Susano has a lot of burst damage potential, and whether or not you get the kill as Susano, you can easily get them to 25% health or less and then force them to back, controlling some small objective in the mini-map, whether it's the oracles or the fire giant elementals.
2 levels right now separate our hunters. Arkkyl on the bad side of that, 5. As opposed to emilitoo 7. That is a result of some of those invades that we saw there on the jungle. But where else does that experience come
well,
from?
emilitoo has 3 purple buffs to his name, whereas Arkkyl has 0 completely, as well as now Arkkyl sharing a little bit of experience with Trixtank in that last dual lane wave. But emilitoo gets pulled in, knocked up, a lot of damage.
And that's all because of the vision that Dignitas has right there. First blood. That's how you start a game. It'll be Arkkyl right there, off of the back of Trixtank. That ward coming out from Team Dignitas right there that Trixtank is walking over, that is what enabled Team Dignitas to find that kill.
If a team's going to play aggressive, well, guess what? We're going to ward your pathing of your next objective that you're going to expect to be stealing. But there's no more dash on iRaffer, but the ultimate from Typhoon just to make sure that the Guardian walks away.
Big burst damage coming out of that jungle Cabrakan there for QVO. Just a very strong look. And this is one of the classics. QvoFred has been known for this Cabrakan. Cabrakan now, sure, might be one of those first pick, first bans, but QvoFred is just sitting there sort of very smugly saying, I told you so to everybody, because Qvo, back when he was on the squad with Lobster and everybody else, he had been known to bring this Cabrakan out, and people were like, man, there it is, Orbit just picking janky picks again, but it's always worked. What doesn't work is being kept in the dark. Team Dignitas, a lot of times in this position I say, Team B watches as NRG take the Gold Fury. Well, Team Dignitas didn't even watch. They had no idea. They were on the other side. They were just completely in the other spot. And NRG makes sure that Team Dignitas don't watch as they take the Gold Fury. That'll be almost a 1,000 gold lead for NRG, nice and easy. Why did NRG feel so confident in making that call?
They had the oracles. They also have a little bit of aggressive vision underneath the bottom right, the left side mid harpies there with their own regular wards. So they would also be able to reset that Gold Fury at any given notice. They have a lot of burst damage here with adapting and Yammyn. They don't even have to use any of their ultimates. Not to mention the mechanic of using the Caldir dog from emilitoo Skadi will actually tank the Gold Fury for you. So you're not really putting your own at risk. You're just going to take some of the hits away from Caldir.
That's actually really, that's a step better than when you have Bastet Cats. It's not an ultimate that you have to expend. It's literally there all the time, so certainly making use of that one. Team Dignitas, the only team on the board so far. Zyrhoes on this mid lane Neith. Who is he looking to set up, Dolly?
He's looking for some sort of counter rotation. Zyrhoes, whenever any mid player plays Neith, they're looking for some kind of global pressure in the side lane. Now, you look at Variety Dimi, it's not necessarily going to happen there, but we could see some action in that dual lane Hunter whenever the Guardians leave that role, and then all of a sudden, a World Weaver connects onto emilitoo.
Well, here it's the right side, not the dual lane side. iRaffer already in the ultimate, looking for the burst damage, comes out of it. as he's chased out by the junglers. Zyrhoes very big in trouble here. Gets very low thanks to some meditation. He'll survive, but here comes the pancake flip out of Dimi. Not going to be enough damage. Adapting shows up. There it is. NRG's on the board with their first kill thanks to the jungler. QvoFred gets served up right towards Yammyn. He's going to burst out Adapting, but again, the jungler's not done yet. Frozen.
Great
Beautiful play by Variety, but Dimi goes right through the wall and finishes off Cuvo anyway.
And they're not done yet. They're going to invade the blue buff. They're getting the stuff after the stuff. They're not even done with that one. They're going to use iRaffer's hog. iRaffer even thinking of trying to steal that speed buff away, but he's actually holding on to the purple buff anyway, just kind of trolling his own teammate. They're having a little bit of fun while having a lot of the action. So NRG, they find 2 kills of themselves after the Gold Fury, as well as 2 additional buffs.
What a great sequence that was, watching NRG take the buffs after the team fight. Like you said, it's those type of plays. A lot of teams, the window is just very small for that type of deal, because if you lollygag for a second, then the respawns come through, you have the counter rotation. If NRG doesn't make a play for those buffs as soon as Dimi gets that kill onto QvoFred, excuse me, if they are actually in a lot of trouble for overstaying their welcome. So the speed of which that NRG goes for those objectives, iRaffer's calling, get the buffs as they're chasing the kill, knowing that it's more about the next step than the current step.
We saw in the Eager versus Team Allegiance set what happens when you lollygag a little bit too long.
Yeah.
You're going to start the objective, reset it too long, the response happens, and then all of a sudden the enemy team gets the objective that you originally started. So it's very important to make sure you have a certain mindset and a plan, and you orchestrate it to efficiency.
So again, it's really about the smaller situations. It's about these smaller steps that we're seeing NRG take that wind up being more beneficial to them than perhaps the larger objectives that they're looking for. 2,000 gold lead as the clock strikes 10 here. 2-1. Low kill count. Well, I guess it's a low time, so kind of early on in the game to be asking for some more kills right now. 3 in total. I think that sounds about right. What do you think, Tolly?
No, this is a great pace, actually, for 2 teams of such high caliber between Dignitas and NRG. Despite such a low kill count, the Golden experience heavily favoring NRG because of the timing of their kills, able to get these objectives, able to steal away the Gold Fury, taking advantage of the fact that Variety also had no mana after the team fight, had to back, so he also missed out on a very important wave.
And one of the big deals, one of the very big deals that we see for Team Dignitas, for NRG, excuse me, is that this is actually Team Dignitas' first purple buff that we see on Trixtank, or at 10 minutes right now. NRG had just routinely taken that buff and actually staggered it so that they can go to that buff after the fact, after they take their own. So certainly big attention to detail coming out from NRG here. With respect to the jungle, Gold Fury spawning momentarily here, Tolly. I don't think any team is really going to make a play for it just yet. We're going to see that Neith look for a setup, or NRG look for a setup as well before executing the gold.
Zyrhoes looking to back, probably trying to finish off that Transcendence. We see Yammyn having that already completed, looking for the stacks. Not able to finish it quite yet. Oh, actually does finish it. So that's going to be very important for him to sit in the lane and make sure he doesn't fall too far behind Yammyn stacks.
I like the timing of the ward vision coming out from Team Dignitas right there. You saw QvoFred sort of watch. Well, Variety's going to watch his own jungle get invaded. The blue buff was not stolen away. That one will go the way of Team NRG. Adapting, however, gets a taste of the freeze. Left side, though, when we saw QvoFred ward that Gold Fury, as soon as it came up, he drops the ward. Wants to make sure that there's no time wasted. Again, small micro plays will make the win.
Ooh, nice knockup from iRaffer, preventing the pull knockup initiation. Going
Locked
into
in.
the ultimate.
And he's locked in thanks to QvoFred. Can't escape that one, but iRaffer's the one with the kill. Trixtank is the one that winds up falling to the wayside. Cabrakan with the, I mean, it looks like a perfect wall, but again, going back, it's all about the Rorschach quote. You weren't locked there with iRaffer. You were locked there with him. Whatever, man.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
Level 11 Sobek for iRaffer. The way he's built his god with his Mark of the Vanguard, Heartward Amulet. He's expecting a lot of damage between Cuvo and Trixtank.
Yeah.
These Bruise brothers, we can almost call them at this point, honestly. And having this Mark of the Vanguard preventing so much damage from all that damage over time from Sylvanus, keeping him alive, as well as the timing of lurking in the water, preventing him from getting continually chain CC'd and able to make that turnaround. He was very fortunate also that his teammates were behind that wall to be able to demolish it and still dive that tier 1 tower, finding Trixtank.
Which, I mean, fortunate, or is that just a result of the way NRG plays? You and I were on the cast before talking about Eager, talking about the buddy system and how they're always very close to one another. NRG were one of the first teams to really, have that sort of gameplay style, at least from a viewpoint that we have here, is that it just always seems that NRG are never quite alone, never quite out of position. Trixtank, however, gets grabbed out of position. He'll also get knocked up, and he'll get knocked down, adapting with credit for that one. Second kill for the Swedish jungler. Still in trouble is Arkkyl, but we'll see iRaffer retreat just a little bit. Half HP for the Hunter on Team Dignitas. He'll clear out this wave and likely stay put.
Still looking for more picks. Not confident enough to go for the Gold Fury off of that one pick quite yet. Recognizing Trixtank, when he revives, he will still have that ultimate. And this is a spot where, sure, NRG could try to go for Gold Fury 5-on-4, but then they're probably going to get aggressed on afterwards. And without the ultimate from adapting and emilitoo to be able to really control any space in the jungle, rather play it safe than sorry, and then going to extend the pressure in the lane.
Well, here's one of the things that Team Dignitas lack with their 3 Guardian and 2 Hunters setup. And it's a Hunter in the long lane because emilitoo just sent him back to base. 34 seconds for Arkkyl to take a timeout and think about dying single-handedly to emilitoo. Yammyn, on the other hand, is going to help his team with a big old team fight and take out Variety. Trixtank seems to be next, but a nice meditation saves him, and a root sticks Dimi in his tracks, and that'll send NRG back into the jungle looking for the opportunity for the Fire Demon.
First, the Portal Demon was started by NRG, and Variety was leaving that area, walled himself and his teammates out, and that allowed NRG to continue the Portal Demon. Recognizing the mistake that Variety made, he had to make the call to his teammates like, hey, listen, they're on this objective, we need to contest it, but then everybody from NRG caught them out of position. The ultimate from adapting, just now available, wasn't even necessary during that encounter.
So here's my thing for Team Dignitas, or at least for NRG to take advantage of with Team Dignitas, is that NRG right here, they didn't get a mid lane mage. They hold that thought. Fire Giant being started relatively early here. 15:20 on the clock, and Fire Giant's being started, zoned out. Team Dignitas aren't even aware. They're just not privy to the situation that's going on right now. QvoFred gets tossed to it, but it doesn't matter. NRG are the ones that take the Fire Giant nice and early. That's how you do it. And now they're going to look up for the cleanup kill on a QvoFred. It's adapting that winds up making it happen. 303. For the jungler one more time. It's 7-1, and 6 have had Adapting's stamp of approval on them. Out of control. Trixtank is in trouble as well. Dimi drops the ultimate, Toli, and he just looks like he's wasting time here.
No, there's no possible survival for Trixtank, no matter what Variety does. His wall is on cooldown, lurking in the water, doing a lot of damage. Nice Wrath of Terror, but it's not enough with emilitoo right around the corner. Yammyn with the hearts over the wall. Variety is getting dove. No escape.
Variety, quite literally no escape, just stood there. He knew that it was over. There was just nothing for him to do.
Objective after objective for NRG. They find one Gold Fury, they look for picks. They look for one Portal Demon, they look for picks. And then on top of that Portal Demon, with that objective being able to go from your base to the Fire Giant side, and on top of recognizing that Arkkyl is invested in the dual lane, not having to worry about that Hunter, and emilitoo making the important rotation to have Kaldir tank the Fire Giant for them for a little while, reset it, kite the Fire Giant around the mechanics a little bit. NRG is just world-class elite team.
Exactly, and it shows in their draft as well. I think you can look towards Adapting for doing a lot of the heavy lifting here for NRG, not only setting up the team with his pulls, but also just bringing damage himself.
I'm looking at these two junglers here. 4-level advantage for Adapting. Now, to start things off for this season, it was Team Dignitas and QvoFred that were just on fire.
Yes.
And it was NRG that was actually struggling a little bit, as well as Adapting. This leads me to believe that any time Adapting plays against QvoFred, he has a fire lit under him a little bit. We saw his player interview, how he talks about in the last season, how there was this comparison between Cuvo and Adapting.
Well, so it's funny because when we talk about Anderson over in North America being one of the quintessential quote-unquote best players in the world, right? Or at least in his position. Adapting, gonna wait it out. Oh, not enough damage, right? Anderson very much so is like, well, you know, I try pretty good, right? Adapting, on the other hand, is, no, I am the best. How dare you say QvoFred is anywhere close to me? I believe that. Adapting is historically, very obviously, a very passionate player when it comes down to it. And you know, this is what happens when you get underneath the skin. Arkkyl's able to find a turnaround kill, however. I don't think that's going to be a trend that continues. iRaffer separating himself from his team offensively, forcing NRG to go ahead and keep it coming. 5th kill of the game for Adapting. Arkkyl under the tower should be safe. And NRG going to keep pushing here. We've got 4 players strong.
They have minions to make sure that tower is more vulnerable. Yammyn dashing in, looking for the heart bomb. Not on the mark. The sustain from Trixtank is not enough to really keep Arkkyl up alive. And 4 members still stand strong in the left for NRG with this Fire Giant still contesting this left side Phoenix.
Without any AoE, NRG have to go ahead and retreat. They need that Cupid ultimate up to really make a real big strong presence as they push. Variety's going to make the rotation and catch Dimi out, but Dimi does have 2 dashes. So, oh, nice wall coming out from Variety. iRaffer and Dimi are going to be forced to fight. Yammyn joins the fray as well. Ultimate for him still on cooldown, so Zyrhoes takes out Dimi. That should be that. Everybody else should just disappear. And that's what we'll see.
It's all a waiting game between this Ymir versus Xing Chen matchup. Whenever you're caught out of position as a Xing Chen, you don't want to necessarily jump right off the bat because the wall is going to be coming immediately after. But at the same time, you're going to be taking so much damage from the rest of his teammates. So there's some times where you have to make that decision expecting the wall anyway, and then kind of hoping that there's going to be a slight nudge for you to squeeze on through.
Right now, 19.5 is what the clock says. It's 11-3, and NRG leading by a slew of gold, 10,000 if you want to put a number on it. Right now, I think the biggest point here for NRG, besides the fact, totally, that they've just been executing extremely well, I think one of the largest differences that we haven't really spoken about is this mid lane hunter situation. I always talk about the balanced equation that is a team composition, and when you forgo a mid-mage, a traditional mid-mage, you, in the mid lane in favor of a hunter, you lose a lot of not just burst damage, but more importantly, AoE damage. And the Neith here on Zyrhoes, now you can argue that the burst damage is still there if you're able to set up your weaves correctly, which Zyrhoes, a veteran Neith player, can absolutely do. But the one thing that Yammyn can bring on the Cupid that Zyrhoes can on this hunter is that massive AoE presence, area denial, and most importantly, perhaps, objective secure.
This is why we see so many ability hunters being played in that mid role, trying to make up the magical damage, but it's iRaffer that's getting caught out of position.
50%.
The Ymir wall is doing a great job, but he's actually going to be able to walk out, but the snipes is good.
That's the Cupid ultimate. It controls the entirety of Team Dignitas. And we see iRaffer go down, but his team escapes with the Fire Giant. When you sign an application to join a team of support, they ask, are you willing to die for stuff like that? That is absolutely his job. And as long as nobody else here dies, totally, this is a win for NRG. In fact, they're going to fight into it. It's a 4-on-5. Right now, it's going to be evened up. Now it's a 3-on-4 as Arkkyl finds the kill. That's just batty. Going into the 4-on-5? I don't know about that one.
Feeling pretty confident is NRG. They do have a nice experience lead. 7 levels. Adapting, level 20. QvoFred, 13. Going for a gem of isolation. Blink Cabrakan, trying to make sure people stay heavily stayed within those tremors. Feeling very confident with their slight player advantage. It's a 4-on-4 now, though. Gonna start up this Gold Fury.
This is a very confident play coming out from Team Dignitas. Basically, I love the idea and I love the mindset, but do I love the result? emilitoo, 25%, I do! Arkkyl gets a kill, but Yammyn's able to answer back and take down QvoFred. iRaffer adapting and Yammyn still local. The guys on Team Dignitas gonna retreat just a little bit. Gotta take out that ward for the teleport, well done.
Team Dignitas, they know how to fight. You can never count them out. Great beads out of Arkkyl, preventing the pull, but you can't prevent the second pull from iRaffer. But now he's out of position. Typhoon coming out, gonna dissect into Variety.
And Variety's toast. He's stuck in the fields of love, and it's all but hate that Yammyn has for him. It's gonna be the 5th death for our solo lane Ymir. 0-5-4. This might be the worst performance we've seen Variety have on this Ymir in a long time.
Not since Season 2, back in when he was in Team Dignitas, still trying to
Different
find
player.
some plays. Yeah, he definitely transformed from Season 2 to Season 3, but this time around, NRG are looking like a completely new team, making Team Dignitas look like they're more of a bottom-seeded team than a top one.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and you know, for the folks at home that are surprised that NRG are playing this well, I implore you to look at the beginning of the past couple of seasons. NRG, for whatever reason, tend to start out slow. You know, it's just their first couple of weeks generally aren't as successful as the remainder of their season. And, you know, whatever the reason may be, I'm not going to pretend to know what happens behind the scenes for these guys. But the proof is in the pudding. You look 3rd, 4th, 5th week at the rest of those splits, and they're doing this. They're taking a top team, a quite literal top team in Team Dignitas, and beating them by over 10,000 gold.
It's like the story of the tortoise and the hare, honestly. They're trying to just take it easy, relax a little bit. There's no need to rush.
Yeah.
They'll get to the finish line whenever they need to. They command the race their own way, and this is what's going to happen, even against a top-tier team such as Dignitas.
Well, you say that. Looking at the team fight on the left side, iRaffer half HP already. Dimi tosses 2 players to the back line and adapting with the hot flank. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. He gets his kill. That's number 7. And NRG continue down the line. It's 5 versus 3 here on the left side. Yammyn has no ultimate. In fact, nobody on NRG have their ultimates. They were expended in that team fight, but it just don't matter. Firebird left side, already down for the count. Zyrhoes backflips. Arkkyl jumps all the way to hell. He's home and adapting. Sends him there. Mid lane Phoenix is going to be the one that's going down as well. We've got one more on the right side, Anatoly.
Fire Giant still for 20 seconds. This is a great successful play from NRG. They get all 3 Phoenixes very quickly. The respawns are coming from Team Dignitas on the form of Variety and Trixtank, and it's pretty difficult at this point. Looking at the health pool, iRaffer was very low. Yammyn was rather unhealthy as well. Looking for the 5th and 6th item completion for NRG before going for that last kill.
Really almost thought we were going to see the push into the throne room, but like you said, the respawn's coming. Arkkyl has been a light in the darkness for Team Dignitas here in this game. 5-2-1, and the Hunter has had some spectacular plays. In fact, forced Team Dignitas off of the objective a handful of times. Unfortunately for that last one, not going to happen. But the Hunter has been doing a very, very good job here, despite the rest of his team really not performing. There are 6 kills on Team Dignitas. He has 5 of them and was even an assist on the 6th.
To be fair, Arkkyl is playing cleanup crew more than anything else. There was a great play from Trixtank to enable Arkkyl to get that first blood earlier on to emilitoo, I think it was, that was caught rotating out of position with that ward. So to say Team Dignitas members other than Arkkyl aren't doing anything is an unfair statement to the rest of his teammates. It's just NRG are just outperforming Dignitas to such a grand scale.
That's really the key here, and you know, like we said, nobody quite knows what's going on in the minds of the NRG camp, but I think it's fun to imagine that they just like giving these teams a false sense of security. Yeah, you know?
False hope. The tactical feeding.
Here's the problem, though, Tully. It's week number 5, right?
Yes.
We just had our bye week. How many weeks are in the entire split?
6.
And right now they're trailing by 5 points.
Yes.
So if they 2-0 here, they get 3. That means the next 2 weeks, NRG have to win every game. There's an idea of being cheeky and giving your opponent a fun time, but there's a whole nother idea of having to win every single game you're up against.
Variety walling off Trixtank. He's going to take an early spill, but iRaffer gets traded out entirely. Dimi looking for a pull, not going to find it. QvoFred is the 2nd victim here for Team Dignitas. The Cupid ult is going to be good, and that's going to be the first game here for NRG.
Big play there coming out from the Cupid, like I said before. Absolute big choice there, picking the AoE damage in the mid lane. With the Neith and nobody else on the side of Team Dignitas with AoE, it just became a problem when it came to objectives, when it came to team fights in the jungle, and of course, defending that Titan. Just didn't happen.
No, NRG did a great job that game.
Game number 1 goes to NRG. They've got another game in this set, but before we head on to it, we'll break it down with Taco and Aggro.
Thank you very much, Tom. And here at Thursday Night Smite, well, I think we can safely name it to the Adapting Show. At least for game 1 there. Adapting on Susano controls the jungle throughout the game. Qvo just never got a chance to show up.
He had Qvo on the back foot the entire game. Just Adapting's target focus at the start is really what helped him snowball so far ahead of the Cabrakan jungle, because every single time he was engaging, he was more often than not just focusing out Trixtank, making sure to set up Trix in a way that he would just be unable to really provide any kind of sustain or support for his team. And just overall excellent gameplay, like perfect from Susano. That's what you want to see every time.
That's what you come to expect from Adapting, one of the best players in the world without a doubt. Let's take a look at the post-game stats here. Like you mentioned, Adapting just really picking on Trixtank, focusing down that immobile Sylvanus, and setting up emilitoo, who was able to then find the solo kill onto Arkkyl in lane, starts to really get the ball rolling in NRG's favor.
The Skadi Eyes combination on top of the Susano pull-in with his ability, it just becomes such a devastating scenario for Dignitas draft to try and work around, because that ice was, emilitoo was really on point with his placement of the ice every single time as Skadi, and the way that they were able to lock down all of the candidates on Dignitas and really prevent them from any sort of escape potential is crucial in these sort of team fight scenarios, and really clean performance overall from NRG.
I mean, like I mentioned during the draft phase, emilitoo was one of the first to pull out the Skadi at the pro level. You know he's comfortable on it. Certainly looking like it there in game 1. So if you're sitting on Dignitas in game 2, what do you want to change about the draft?
I think they need a little bit more mobility if they're going to try and compensate against NRG's draft. They saw that while 3 Guardians double Hunter is a pretty strong, flavorful pick for teams at the moment,
Sure.
I just don't think that you can provide enough support for your backline in these circumstances, because more often than not, NRG is going to look for one target and just focus them down the entire time. And if you don't have the mobility to compensate for it, you're just going to fall behind.
Let's see if